Happy new day, new afternoon, new evening, and new night. Wonderful people. Welcome to another episode 2 of Marriage, Sex, and Communication with me, Angelica Stevenson, and my hover,
Mark Johnson. Allen Stevenson.
That's better.
Diamond. Hey. Oh, sorry.
I don't know what you're talking about, but that's okay.
Diamond Dallas Page, man.
What was that?
The wrestler.
Oh, I don't know that wrestler.
Oh, you are fired.
Hey, I know some wrestlers. We had conversations where I knew wrestlers. I don't know that one. You stay on your face. Yeah.
She said stay on topic. That's funny.
Thank you for the reminder, Elena. So today's episode of Marriage, Sex, and Communications, we are talking about our miscarriage and how that had an impact on our marriage, on our sexually area of life, and on our relationship, our romantically area of life, and also personal area of life. You like to hear it? Here it goes. I wrote a fast song. Okay, so September 2015, we already have 3 children. We had our eldest in 2011, our daughter in 2013, and then our 3rd child in 2014. So I got pregnant again after having my son in December 2014 and September 2015. And I took a home pregnancy test. I bought one, to confirm, because I was starting to feel all nauseous. I'm feeling different. And I took one, and it's the 2 pink stripes, And I was like, oh, I'm pregnant again. I don't want to tell Alan. But eventually I did. I told him. And it took him, some time. Do you remember your reaction when I told you I was pregnant for the 4th time?
It was kind of, there was a happiness because, hey, a new human, but then there was just a fear and a sadness because, I just didn't think that, we could handle any more people. And so I just was kind of, there was a little bit of an upset aspect to what was going on because, that was just too much, there was just too much to do in my head. So I was just kind of stressed out about it. So I think that was the dominant thought, was stress and sad. There was some happiness in there, but it was primarily stressed out and sad. So
Yeah.
don't get her.
And
Go get Amara.
I didn't want to, just have that happen. So I delayed as much as possible, but he knows me. He knows that I'm not telling him something. So I told him, and he took it like, Autumn, put your leg down before Dad puts you back in the room. Okay? Okay.
All right, you can sit over here.
So I went to Assure's Women's Center to get a confirmation. It's a great place. I love going there. That's where I went for my other pregnancies. And it was positive, of course. And then once I had my positive urine sample, they took me to the back, asked me questions. Have you been pregnant before? What are your intentions for this baby? Do you need any help? So forth and so forth. And took me back to the room to get an ultrasound. And so I had my 3 eldest children. I'm laying there and they're doing the ultrasound. And the baby is smaller than what I've experienced and seen before with my other three. And the lady that was doing it, she noticed it too. I think it's about, it's on that image that I put up, and I'll put up too for the thumbnail. But she's like, yeah, this is your baby. It should be bigger. Like growth size doesn't, line up with how many weeks you say you are. So she said, like, basically come back, in a couple weeks or something so we can check it again. I'm like, okay. I was like, is everything gonna be okay? I don't know how she answered, but I had like this feeling, hoping that things would be okay, but kind of uneasy about it too. So, trying to think if it was that same night or, well, you can have not the blanket, but you got to keep yourself covered, okay? And keep your face covered, but cover my breast. So, in the middle of the night, I woke up because I was cramping. It kind of felt like contractions, which is really strange for me because I wasn't far enough to have contractions. It was very painful. Alan was asleep, and our babies were asleep too. And I went to our bathroom in our bedroom, sat down, and I started urinating, and then I started pushing. And I'm like, what is going on? And I pushed until I heard a plop in the toilet. And I'm like, what in the goodness is that? And I turned around with a terror. I don't know how to describe that feeling in the pit of my stomach, but it was just, oh, what is this? And I reached down and I got it. And it was, oh, I should call it, the egg sac of the baby. And I didn't know if that was what it was at first because I've never had a miscarriage. So I called my children's pediatrician, and I was asking her about it. I was like, I was pregnant, and I just went to the bathroom, and I pushed this out, and I took it out, and this is what I'm holding. What is this? And the nurse was like, let me get the doctor. So I got my ultrasound doctor. Sorry if I'm going out of order. And she said, well, does it look like this? Do you see a gray lining or whatever on it? And I was like, yeah, I do. And she was like, well, that's your baby. That's the egg sac. And I screamed because I was holding my baby. I don't remember how I got off the phone with her, but I remember Alan waking up like, what's going on? What's happening? And him coming to me. And no, I was like, I'm sorry, I have a miscarriage. Here's the baby, basically. And like that's where my sadness, where I started to go into my little hole, my black hole. But before I tell you about my black hole, that I started going to, Alex, what do you remember from that night?
Just just feeling that, my thing was I felt like that whole miscarriage was my fault because I didn't think positive. So, like, all of my thoughts were just kind of like, man, I don't know what we're gonna do. I didn't want any more children because there's so much going on in the world, or where am I gonna get this money? We were living in an apartment. We need thinking about the space aspect and just another thinking about another person that has to grow up and worry about how that's gonna, how that's gonna transpire, faith, all of that, just all of those aspects of life, I just took them on a negative approach. So it just, everything was not good. So when she had the miscarriage, I thought it was my fault because, you're supposed to think positive and be positive about life, and I felt like that was maybe God's way of saying, all right, man, since you thought about it like this so much, then here, let me work my magic. So he did that. And so, I felt like it was just my fault. So I was just sad that you know, my negative thinking caused so much. Is how I felt. I mean, looking back, I don't think that's what caused it, but I never could really, I never could really forgive self for it in a sense. Like, you make it like you time has advanced, but there's still moments where it's like, yeah, I probably could have did better. So it just sticks with you. So that's
And it sticks with you.
Mhm. Yeah. So it sticks with you a bit. You learn to adjust to the new existence, but it's still kind of it's one of those things that's in the back of the mind. So that's that was my experience. Just my as far as that night, just the whole, it was my fault. Was just this was that just stuck with me for a great stretch of time.
So after that night, I already told people that I was pregnant. I learned to wait to a certain trimester period in my life. You got to get off autumn. You can't get there. Thank you. Um, After that, that's one lesson I learned. Um, so I had to go back and tell my family, and then I also had to tell this couple, this prominent couple in our community. When I found out I was pregnant, I asked if I could name our child after their son, who had died, and they said yes. So I thought that'd be a great honor. And then I felt so bad on top of what I was feeling about the miscarriage to have to deliver that news, like I'm bringing death to them a second time with their son and his name. um, but after that, when I told my sister, she came over to see how I was doing, and she's basically like, Angelica, you had a miscarriage. It's like having a baby. Make sure you sit yourself down somewhere, basically. Give yourself time to heal mentally, emotionally, physically, and down there and everything. I'm like, yeah, okay. But of course, I didn't listen. I didn't listen because either that same day when I woke up or the next day, um, I I I had a engagement with a church event, and I already said I would take my niece with me too. So I went. Nobody there knew what I was going through, and I still made myself available to be used by God. Um, to be able to help somebody. I got through it, and then once I got home, though, I just bawled myself, just cried. And then I picked up smoking cigarettes again, because back then that's how I dealt with my emotions. Besides facing them head on, besides trusting God, I went back to smoking cigarettes, and I didn't talk to Allen. Like the only as far as I remember, the only communication that we had was something dealing with responsible, whether it's a bill to take care of our children or to cleaning. Like we were having those conversations, but I wasn't talking to him about how I felt about the miscarriage, how I felt it was my fault, how I felt guilty. I felt like a bad mom. I felt like, what's wrong with me? Why couldn't I carry and keep this baby after I've already had three? Blaming myself. And man, this time went by so fast. I think next time I keep a journal so I know what the dates are. But later it was time to because later I kept the egg sack and I put it in the freezer so we could bury her. So it came for the day for us to bury her. And I was getting her out the freezer, and it was either my eldest son, not my eldest son. Who was it? Who do I say it was? It was either my daughter Elena or Adis. They asked where the baby was. They're like, "Where's the baby?" And this is where God uses children. I'm so grateful and blessed for my children because they saved me many times over. Alex, who was 4 at the time, after asking that question, because I didn't know how to answer that. I didn't. But Alex said, "Baby died. Baby went home." And in that moment, like, an overwhelming of like peace and okay came over me, because I realized that though my daughter wasn't here with us on earth in the flesh, she was still with us in spirit. She's always going to be with us as an ancestor, and then through memory as well. And that's just like, yes, baby. Baby died, but baby went home. And I actually started to feel a lot better after that. And that light just opened up, the light shining in the darkness.